No ticket came from any other. Take your look inside. Meet with yourself, the train conductor. Take your little ride. I'm visiting the spirit of rekindle broken dreams. Watch the colors mixing up blue skies and forest screens. Embraces over shaking hands, all elements will meet. Passion of the fire, dancing earth bodies. Vitality of water which is lifted by the wind. To the noses in the city, smell the pot melting. Some attempting to devour more than the stomach can. To avoid seeking dollars, I am with stomach rumbling. Them cycles of injustice, downward spirals will confront them with our smiles anyhow. Don't look down unless you're tending to the sprouts in the ground. Saying, grow, 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 saying, grow with me. Cause once we're self-sustaining, oh, we all will be free. From Monsanto to compost, take off your bling bling. We're not defined by our clothes, but our self-esteem. Choke a pot, we'll up the train, and you're in the front seat. All aboard, depart the station. Ooh, I say yeah. All right, help me out. When I say I, you say I. I said I said I said Last one. Okay, church, we sound good. Okay. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here. Thanks for holding space for creativity, for thought, for world building, you know what I mean? We can't really comprehend how, when we gather together, how this ripples out and affects the vibration of the world that we're in, the collective consciousness, and and all the healing that we're conjuring here. So thank you. And if you want to stay tapped in, I produce shows and events myself. I have one coming up this Sunday. You can tap in at tatuvision.com, TATUvision.com. Or Instagram. Also, my personal Instagram is Jada, Jada, Imani, IMANI 510. Thank you.
Thank you. So good morning. My name is Jadon Terry Kuhn. I go by the preferred gender pronouns of she and hers. And I'll be your moderator today for this panel. What are we dreaming? Young leaders face the future. And let's give it up again for Jada Imani. So you can definitely get her full bio on the app or the program, but we want to make sure that we just honor her offering appropriately by telling you a little bit more about her. So she's a Bay Area-based workshop facilitator, MC, and founder of Tattoo Vision Movement. She's dedicated to helping co-create regenerative communities through her performing, event production, hosting, healing practice, and coalition building with communities of poets, hip-hop heads, entrepreneurs, and permaculture practitioners alike. So as Jada told us, every time we get together, we're setting out ripples into the universe. And that was the right way to get us started off. And she talked about the world she envisions us building, a place where she was inviting us to grow with her. She talked about compost. She talked about a time when we're all free, about us getting into the front seat of really driving this world that we're living in. And you will now have a chance to very quickly call into your own head or heart a vision that you have for our future. And if you could quickly, on your phone, if you so choose, try to find one of those images. And after I give you a moment to do that, you'll just simply share it with somebody that you're sitting close to. All right? So again, what do you hope for or dream of in the future? And is there an image of that that you could share with the person next to you? We're going to do more of that, just a warning for you all. So Grace Lee Boggs, I saw her book out there. Yes, great teacher, somebody I very much look up to. And she often would talk about the idea of projecting our visions into reality. So it's that same idea of every time we imagine something in the future, every time that we talk about what we want to see and that we're building it, we're physically projecting what we want into reality. It's manifesting, and obviously a lot of you all know about that. And we just got a chance to practice that with each other. Jada offered us in song her projection physically of that future she's holding in her heart. And that's one of the tasks of movement. Social movements have to hold that bigger dream. That's a collection of all of our individual dreams. And we have to find a language for that bigger dream that's dreamt by the bigger we. And it's our task to constantly both find the language, but to talk about it, to speak on it, to paint about it, to write about it, to sing about it, to build and create so that it becomes real in this physical plane. So all the things that you all probably shared about in your pairs, family, joy, maybe call out some of the things that you all heard or shared. Connection. Clean water, safety, peace, growth. What? Health and housing. Matriarchy. Positive energy. Yes, we shared a lot of things, and that's all part of the big dream. So as we sit in the room together, the invitation is that we practice listening to the dream of others with that big movement we. So we hear somebody's dream, safe water, that too is my dream. Health and housing, that too is my dream. Connection, that is part of our big dream. So that kind of brings us to the topic of this panel. What are we dreaming? Young leaders facing the future. So really, the subject of this panel came up, it was really rooted in 3 quotes, which I will share with you now. The first one is from Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and that's, "The arc of the moral universe is long, and it bends towards justice." The second one is a figure of speech. It's called "The Tip of the Spear." So I Googled this last night, and this is what the internet had to say about it. Military tacticians and historians often make use of the term tip of the spear. It refers to a combat force that is used to puncture the enemy's initial lines of defense, to be quickly followed by concentrated forces which destroy any remaining threat. The tip of the spear breaks through, followed by the weight of the shaft. Without the tip, a spear is nothing but a blunt stick. The third is from one of the treasures that Oakland has to offer the world, Mark Bamuti Joseph. And yes, send him some love. He said once, "I don't serve an institution, I serve a dream." So taking these 3 quotes together, we began thinking, what if the arc of the moral universe is a dream that was dreamt by our ancestors? And it is just simply that dream unfolding across generations. And what if that arc moves like a spear through time and space? And the tip of that spear are our young people. That the youngest among us that are dreaming the big dream are the thing that will break us through. I've been in many institutions, and I too serve the big dream. I serve the arc towards justice. And I came from youth organizing, and I'm now 43. And I can definitely feel myself getting older. And, because I'm like, why do people have rainbow hair? Why do people put tattoos on their faces? One's a muffin, one's a crane, it's a burger. Like a tattoo on your face meant a very different thing when I was young. It was like, don't fuck with me, I'll kill you. But now it's like a fashion statement. So, but that's old people talk. So I'm moving from the tip of the spear into the middle of the shaft. And my dreaming is starting to feel like remembering. It's more about remembering what came before and passing that along. And so as somebody who's been a lifelong social justice movement person, I know that it's important for me to understand and put my full weight behind the tip of our spear, which is our young people. And I need to understand and see and just fully just grasp, as much as I can, what they're dreaming right now. What are they trying to build? What are they trying to manifest? Because we're living in dangerous times, and they are truly the way forward. So that is what we're here. So that's what we're here to receive today. This is a time for us to listen to the dreaming and the doing and the building of 4 badass young leaders. And we hope that each one of us can find a way into that dream and into supporting what they're doing. And so because they're each have done so much, you can check out their full bios on the app or in the program, but I'm just gonna in short form, introduce each of them. And I'm gonna put my hand above their head. And it's gonna be like Apollo, where make them each feel like they won first place, okay? So, okay, here we go. Lulu Matute. Yes. All right. Is an multidisciplinary artist and activist scholar grounded in liberation theology, ancestral curandismo, healing work, and the making of social memory. She designs collaborative spaces, experiences, and multimedia art projects that deal with Central American diaspora, memory and migration, environmentalism, and freedom from incarceration. And would you be willing to share a fun fact about yourself that not a lot of people know?
Yeah, I have cover up on, but there's a burger tattooed under this shirt.
Yes. Sorry for being so old and out of date. Okay. All right. Itzel Calvo Medina. She's an abolitionist and deportation defense organizer at the California Immigrant Youth Justice Alliance. Yes. Itzel's undocumented status led her to advocate and organize for immigrant rights beyond the dreamer narrative. She uplifts the narratives of the most criminalized that are often left out of the national conversation in immigration. Welcome, Itzel. And please tell us your fun fact.
I was actually born 2 weeks after my due date, so I'm a Gemini.
Woohoo! And you have a very well-formed brain. You got had an extra 2 weeks to develop. It explains the perfection we see in front of us. All right, Devonté Jackson. He's an organizer, avid cooker, and keeper of small collard greens garden in Oakland, California. In October 2018, he joined the Black Futures Lab as organizing director and aims to support in accomplishing the mission of building independent Black political power here in the US and at a global level. Tell us your fun fact.
I played the trombone and was in Cal's marching band.
That's awesome. All right, and last but not least, so please do not do the energy down thing on Tomas. Tomas Tinateu Lopez Jr. All right. So he spent months working with the International Indigenous Youth Council on the ground at Standing Rock to stop construction of the Dakota Access Pipeline. He continues to work in the Indigenous and LGBTQ plus communities to inspire young leaders and create sustainable change via the IIYC and other groups. Welcome. His fun fact.
When I was younger, I was a total bad kid, and I hated public speaking with a burning passion.
Who would have guessed? All right, so here we are. Now we're getting to the meat of it. And each of our panelists will have about 7 minutes to tell us a little bit about what they're dreaming, how they're manifesting that into reality. And first up, we have Itzel.
Hi everyone, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Are y'all from the Bay or coming from out of town? The Bay, dope. I'm from Oaxaca, Mexico, and yay. Yes, but I actually grew up in Portland, Oregon. So I've been, but I consciously grew up here in the Bay because my political consciousness actually started in City College of San Francisco. Woo woo. But yeah, so like Jiran was saying, a lot of the stuff that we do now as like we're growing older is also remembering, right? Remembering where we're coming from, where our movements come from. And it would be a disservice to our immigrant rights movement if I didn't say the young people that put their lives on the line before me and really created this movement of like undocumented, unafraid, unashamed, and unapologetic. One of the things that comes to mind is coming out of the shadows. Have folks heard of coming out of the shadows? Yes. Yeah, so it started off in Chicago with immigrant youth, queer, trans, black, undocumented youth saying publicly that they were undocumented, unafraid, and unapologetic, which led to various acts of resistance across the country. And any form of relief that we have seen come from Obama's administration wasn't due because of Obama's willingness to support immigrant youth, but because immigrant youth were actually occupying his campaign offices and demanded for change, for the DREAM Act, and what we saw was deferred action for childhood arrivals, which was, a step in the right direction, but definitely not the what we were advocating for. And so a lot of the work that I come from and I do now really stems from youth-led, participatory, defense-led deportation defense campaigns. So before, they used to call the education, not deportation campaigns, and quickly folks realized, not only student issues impact our community, but also criminalization, housing, all of these multitude of issues that impact us. And so that's how I got involved with deportation defense work, looking at the actions that were happening outside of the San Francisco ICE office, and then which I then started organizing for. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that I do now with the California Immigrant Youth Justice Alliance, and I'm going to show you a couple of cases that we have worked on. I'm not going to show each and every one of them because we are short on time, but I want you all to pay a close attention of what youth did to transform the narratives of some of these folks who were detained and had, for example, DUIs, different charges that made them, people often forget about these folks, right, that are left out of the national conversation on immigration because they might have had mistakes in their past. And we're saying, no, our community is not disposable. Regardless of what the individual did, we need access to mental health resources. We need access to a home, where folks can feel safe. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and show you all the PowerPoint. And The reason why I wanted to show this specifically is because I want to show that our communities do have victories, and as much as we hear in the media right now of like the bad stuff that's happening with the border and all of these things, it's really shitty. But I think in order for us to sustain ourselves and sustain our movement, we have to look at the victories in order to grow from them. So this is an event that we did last year in Fruitvale, outside of the BART station. It was a Coming Out of the Shadows event where we partnered with organizations like 67 Sueños, Aspire. And so this is the story of Yasmin, who was an undocumented woman living in here in the East Bay, and she was detained with immigration, and she had multiple DUIs. And what we saw that it was her way of coping with the fact that she was in an abusive relationship, and so she was a survivor of domestic violence. And she was apprehended by ICE and was placed in detention for over a year, and we quickly jumped on this campaign. It was the older sister of one of our community members, and there was so much public visibility on Yasmin's campaign that when she was released on bond, they set her bond for $25,000. But because she had so much visibility in her campaign, there was an anonymous donor who paid off the entire bond. So they were able to quickly get that bond for Yasmin. And one of the things that immigration detention, one of the things about it is that you have to pay your bond up front, like all of it, not just like a percentage of it, but you have to pay all of it up front. So this was a big win for us. Free Hugo, you might have heard of him on the news. He was a construction worker that was going into work, and when he showed his ID, he was transferred over to immigration. So a lot of the, he was part of a union, so a lot of the unions got together and like really supported his campaign to get him out. And after 6 months of being in detention, he was able to be released. And this was a big intersection of like labor movement and immigrant rights organizing. So that was also another opportunity of growth and intersectionality with our movements. Free Tcell, she was an indigenous woman from Mexico who also had, I believe, like 2 DUIs. She had a lot of stress. She, a single mother. She was stopped by ICE after having breakfast with her children, so she was apprehended in front of her children in Lodi, California. And this was one of the first times that there was a habeas petition, meaning that an immigration judge won't be the only one seeing this case, but also a district federal judge. So it's kind of a way for like the federal government to intervene within a case. So because the immigration judge again denied her bond, the federal judge decided that she was being placed in detention for not sufficient reasons, and he actually released her on bond. The bad thing about this was that because she was released through federal jurisdiction, not immigration, is that she was going to be on an ankle monitor. And it's harder to get that ankle monitor off. But I'm just gonna go ahead and show this video. So this video has Yasmin, Floricel, Hugo speaking and about their case.
Casi 20 años que llevo aquí, nunca pensé que en este año 2017 fuera un año de tristezas y angustias por leyes de migración. Fue un trauma muy duro, un daño psicológico para mis niños y para mí.
It's how they say in Spanish, ni de aquí ni de allá. But I knew I needed to fight for myself and my family.
Siento poderosa porque ahora mi voz vale. Ahora puedo decir, no tengo miedo. Y sé que hay gente que me respalda y sé que hay gente que también dice lo mismo que yo, que no tiene miedo. Y espero yo, como madre, que el día que ellos estén jóvenes vengan y también estén así luchando. Si hay alguna injusticia, ok, yo puedo apoyar, yo voy. Entonces eso es lo que yo ahora espero de ellos, ¿no? Aunque están pequeños todavía, pero creo que si lo ven, ellos lo van a seguir.
You ripped me from her protective arms. And not for what? For trying to make ends meet, for having enough warmth in her heart to take care of her chiquillos the best way she could, for being a mother. You taught me what my raza feels every day trying to cross these borders. I will never forget that day. The cold day a bitch ass cop took my mother away.
I was born in Acapulco, Guerrero, Mexico, and I'm here to tell my story. Oakland has shaped me for who I am today. It has, helped me come out with my story, come out of my shell.
Mi familia y yo batallamos mucho, pero ahora sé que no estamos solos. Tenemos mucho apoyo de nuestra comunidad. Cuando nos pasó esto, pensamos que nadie nos ayudaría, pero no es así. Y este es uno de los ejemplos y uno de los muchos grupos que nos apoyan. Sin papeles y sin miedo. ¡Sí se puede!
I got so much notes, y'all. How y'all doing? Good. So I'm gonna try. Thank you. So yeah, we're gonna get through this in 7 minutes. I have 6 slides. So yeah, my name is Devonté. I was born in Oakland, raised in San Leandro. So this is my hood. And I've been involved in the movement for a while now. I dropped out of Cal my senior year. I just got readmitted. So I'll be walking the stage twice. But I got involved in the movement as a student at Cal in 2010. And since then, I've been involved in movements. When I dropped out in 2014, that was the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, so I got deep into Black Lives Matter. I was also working for a Black immigrant organization called the Black Alliance for Just Immigration. I did that for 4 years. Now I'm the organizing director at the Black Futures Lab. So I'll start with the quote from Alicia. She's one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, and she's also the founder of the Black Futures Lab. And she says that Black people have always played a role in unlocking the promise of an America that has not yet been realized. And if there was ever a time to tap into that power, it's now. So I love this topic of dreaming. I'm also in an anthropology course right now. And in anthropology, they say that dreams are the realm of the spirit, souls and ghosts. And in dreams, you can transcend space and time. And so what you're saying about the shaft and the arrow and our dreams and the ancestors being part of that is so relevant to me. So I wanted to start with the Combahee River Collective statement. I'm also a socialist. So this was a Black feminist organization that grew out of the National Black Feminist Organization. A lot of women in this collective were lesbians. And the 4 topics they discussed in this statement was the genesis of contemporary Black feminism, what they believed, problems in organizing Black feminists, and Black feminist issues in practice. And one of the big themes from this paper, which I'm rooted in, I identify as a Black feminist and also Afro-surrealist, but they said that identity politics is a tool for people to end their own oppression, and women are inherently valuable, and Black women's liberation is a prerequisite to revolution. Really dope, really dope. And so the issues and projects that they're prioritizing third third world women's needs. So thinking about the role of women in the global economy, a lot of it is agricultural based, but they said that this was life-giving labor. And a lot of Marxists didn't consider unwaged labor as like a site of struggle. And they're like, we're all workers. Women are actually primary people in the struggle for revolution. So go to the next slide. Well, I've been reading some Black Freedom Dreams by Robin D.G. Kelley. He's a really dope guy. And also there's a lot of Afro-surrealist shit out right now. I just watched Us. I would love to get into conversation with folks about that. But also Sorry to Bother You is something else. That it's a lot of political commentary, social critique in those movies. And then there's like Black Panther's like a little bit more mainstream, less radical than Sorry to Bother You and Us. But we're in a moment right now where people are thinking about alternatives to the systems we live in. And in the Black radical imagination, Black freedom dreams, Robin D.G. Kelley talks about the role of women in the chapter called This Battlefield Called Life, Black Feminist Dreams. And one of the other big things is that women argued that capitalism, racism, and patriarchy work together to oppress women. So it's not just like capitalism that we need to dismantle. It's like the systems of patriarchy, heterosexism, and other oppressions. And so I go to this because I feel like our dreams should be grounded in like history and like some kind of historical context. So next is Cabral. He led the struggle against Portuguese colonization in Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. And he actually worked for the Portuguese colonial system. He helped administer a census in peasant communities. And he used that as a mechanism to learn how to talk to peasants about revolution. And so he talked to a lot of people, and one of the big things that he did, and this notes the history of the PAIGC, which was a national liberation group in Guinea-Bissau and Cape Verde. But he said that actually intellectuals in the movement have kind of separated from the people. And he said that folks need to go through a process of Africanization because the academy actually put us more away from our people. And so he was like, if you're a revolutionary, you gotta be able to talk to folks, you gotta be able to relate to folks. And so he put folks through that process. And I bring that up because Black Futures Lab is doing a Black census, and we talked to over 30,000 Black people in 28 states. And so some of our work is like really learning from what the PAIGC did. And then Ella Baker, and it's one of my movement sheroes, 1 minute left. And Ella Baker, she participated in many movements. She's part of the NAACP, the Southern Christian Leadership Council. She worked with King, had a lot of criticism of him as well. She helped start the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. She was part of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, and this is Fannie Lou Hamer right there too. And this is all a part of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, but they were challenging the Democratic Party because they said they don't actually speak for Black people. And I kind of find ourselves today, you know, in a system of Trump where a lot of Black folks don't have friendly politics necessarily towards Democrats. In 2016, we saw a major dip in Black voter turnout after nearly 20 years of steady increase. So something about 2016 happened in black communities, and the role that I'm in right now is actually trying to solve this. Like, how can we be powerful in politics today? And so this is a quote that I started off with, and I'm closing right now. I know that was really quick, but like I said, we conducted this census in black communities, and our report is coming out. And we're actually sharing the findings of the report April 25th, not too far from here. I know a lot of folks are just visiting, but there are flyers on the seats. And you can also go to Eventbrite if you're around, blackfuturescount.eventbrite.com to register. But yeah, we're going to talk about this, and like we're trying to answer this question of how can black people be powerful in politics right here in the U.S. And so I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm way too short for this thing. Oh, my brown kids are leaving. For real? No, y'all good. Y'all good. So I'm not gonna lecture you because in all honesty, growing up, I hated being lectured. Like, I hated it. So to this day, that trauma still lives with me, and I just can't do that to you guys. So I'm gonna go through this rather quickly. So I'm a part of a group called the International Indigenous Youth Council. Yaat ebene, tlaso kamatli ometeot, hihani washte, or niampetu washte. I am Otomi, Mexica, Apache, and Chichangu Lakota. And I spent months on the ground with the International Indigenous Youth Council. So today I want to actually bring to you something that's probably a pretty new term to a lot of people in this room, which is the term Two-Spirit, and talk about Two-Spirit youth. But before I talk about Two-Spirit youth, I have to let you know that the International Indigenous Youth Council, or the IIYC, was started and led by Two-Spirit people and women during the Standing Rock Uprising of 2016. A lot of people are really shocked to know that about 95% of us are pretty gay, so. So what is Two-Spirit? And you're probably asking yourself, like, does that term, like, apply to me in any way? Well, unfortunately, for a lot of people in here, the term and identity of Two-Spirit doesn't really make sense unless it's contextualized within an Indigenous mind frame. So unfortunately, if you're not an Indigenous person, you can't really claim the word Two-Spirit. And when I say Indigenous person, I also include my black sisters and brothers who are also Indigenous. And so Two-Spirit within a traditional setting was a gender identity and is completely separate from any sexual orientation. So take sex out of this entire conversation right now because it really has nothing to do with who you're choosing to have sex with. Today, most people associate the term with an LGBTQ plus Indigenous people, but the work of Two-Spirit peoples is more akin with traditional teaching and knowledge. This knowledge was gifted to me by a man named Harlan Pruden, a PhD, who is out of northeastern Canada, and he descends from the Great Cree Nation. So Two-Spirit history, and this is one of the images I chose as the future that I see. This is an image by Jackie Fawn, and it's Two-Spirit people. You can't really tell the gender of these two people, but they have the world in the palm of their hands and between their heart and the connection that they're making, and they are the cosmos, they are the world. So prior to colonization, the term Two-Spirit and there was really different because each and every tribe had a very specific name for what they called these people. The Otomi, or the Aztec people, call it Ometeot, Two-Spirit. But during colonization in 1492 to about 1990, and we're going to keep those dates pretty rough, we were called a berdache, which is a very derogatory French term that was pretty much like calling us faggots. It was calling us faggots. From 1990 to present time, we have come up with the word Two-Spirit, which was termed here in the Bay Area by the Indigenous people when they charged Alcatraz. So come through Bay Area, right? But the really interesting thing about this term is that this term is only a transitionary term and can only be used until each one of us find the original words that were used to describe these peoples. So what were some societal roles that Two-Spirit people played? We were mediators, we were social workers, we were name givers, we were matchmakers, sun dancers, holy people. We gave people names during puberty ceremonies. We were peacemakers, we were warriors, and we were medicine people. So at the end of the day, we were pretty normal people in society. So I just want to show you some of the really awesome images and people that I found, thank you, in some of the different tribes. This is actually a male couple from Moose Mountain, and it's really interesting because the two people are wearing the headdresses, which is usually a very masculine symbol of some sort of power or recognition within the tribe. But if you look at the smaller one to the right, they're wearing a ribbon skirt. And they're also wearing a really long breastplate that usually only the matriarchs wore. So this is showing that this person not only held a very high stance within the matriarchy, but they also probably played a really big role in war parties and in war. We also have people from the Zuni nation, Wewa, and if you find more about this person, and as you'll see their transition from when they were actually taken from their tribe, they were forced to cut their hair and they were forced to conform as a male. And my favorite, Lozin and Tahatse, the Chiricahua Apache. These two young women were actually some of the most fierce some of the most fierce war leaders of the Apache people. They said that they rode with Geronimo during the war. This actual picture is one of the last pictures that is taken of them together. They're actually being hauled off from New Orleans to where their reservation would be. And Tahatse actually later married a man after her and Lozin were separated. So, two-spirit life and reservation systems. So when they began to tote us off onto reservations and we began to acclimate more into this Western way, our native and European beliefs really clashed. Missionary people actually began feeding two-spirit and LGBTQ people to dogs. Christians forced native people into boarding schools, into the systems, where they actually forced these two-spirit young people to cut their hair and to conform to their two gender identities. And out of love and respect, two-spirit people were asked to go underground in order to protect them. This is a picture of Carlisle Indian School, a school that existed, and excuse me on my dates, from 1879 to 1918. This school was literally the start of Save the Man and Kill the Indian. I bring this image up because, like, at the beginning of this speech, I said I have my own traumas from school, and a lot of my traumas, they direct right back to this historical trauma of being forced into schools and being forced to speak language that wasn't mine. Our hair was cut, and we weren't allowed to be who we were. So growing up, I was told that I was a bad kid. I was told that I was, like, not good enough. Not only am I tiny and I don't fit the typical male gaze of what an indigenous man is supposed to be, I'm gay, I'm loud, I'm kind of obnoxious sometimes, and I really found it hard to fit in. So some characteristics of two-spirit youth are historical trauma, intergenerational trauma, abandoned tribal trauma, half-truths and misconceptions being told about us. And because we're so few in numbers, two-spirit youth should be prioritized in our communities, because once we're gone, we're gone. Missing and murdered Indigenous women have been the focal point of many studies and statistics. But this data will continue to be incomplete until it reflects the research of missing and murdered trans, two-spirit, youth, and non-binary, and men. Because until all of these people are truly looked at, we don't really know how many of our people are going missing. We don't really know how many of our youth are being taken off of the streets as a result of the man camps that are coming into these into their communities. This very conference is supported and hosted by Nestle, which is a water company that is currently stealing water from Indigenous lands in Canada, and yet their sticker sits on that plastic water can right back there. So until these studies reflect these things, we can never know the entire truth of it. I'm here today because I am a proud two-spirit Indigenous man. I am not afraid to stand up and be who I am. And it was because of the black community bringing me in and teaching me how to be unapologetic that I stood up to people and I said, I am not afraid of you. That I went to Standing Rock and I told a bunch of straight men who claim to be warriors that I, a 5'2" gay man, am a warrior too, and I have something to offer this world. I'm gonna end it really quickly, I'm so sorry. I wanna tell you the story of the 7th generation and the black snake. So it was prophesied that one day a black snake would come to the land, that this black snake would infect the water, the air, the earth, the fire, the youth, our women, our minds, our hearts, our bodies, but that it would be the 7th generation that would unite the 7 generations and the teachings before them and the 7 generations that are yet to come to be the tip of the spear to kill the black snake. And I'm honored to tell each and every one of you that you were prophesized about. 7 generations ago, your grandmas and your grandpas put down tobacco, put down prayer, song, water, food for you to be here. To be the tip of the spear. Each and every one of you was prophesized, and every time you walk into a room, whether you know it or not, you are backed by 1,000 ancestors who remember you and who are speaking through you. Aho mitakuye oyase.
So that was definitely like some cosmic connection, because I literally have never heard that story. So I was like, whoa. So I'll just riff a little bit on this dreaming thing as we're getting set up.
Riff.
Okay. So we kind of left, you'll see that each of the panelists kind of took very different takes at their topics. And that was on it like by intention. We wanted them to just really interpret the prompt with whatever came to them. And part of seeing the big dream is to be able to look at very different kinds of things and noticing the pattern and the thread. So yeah, just to encourage you all to do that.
Thank you. Thank you all, panelists, co-panelists, for sharing your dreams, and for everybody in this room for sharing space. You spoke of 7th generation, and I want to honor the land that we're on and the 7 generations of ancestors that we carry in our genetic memory, because we're here because they survived. Now, I want to share my dream. My dream for the future is a villages, plural, of radical acceptance. And to quote Jada, who opened the space up, when we're self-sustaining, we'll all be free. I'm gonna speak a bit on, we got that clicker going? Can I get that clicker? No, you good? I'll find it right there. Thank you. I just got back from backpacking through Central America. I went from Los Angeles to Panama and from Panama backpacking up. And I spent a significant amount of time in Honduras and in Guatemala. I'm originally from the west side of Chicago. My parents are from Honduras. And what prompted this backpacking trip? Research. I graduated from UC Berkeley in December, and me searching self, understanding more about my parents, my family, their migration journey, trying to dig into my roots and understand it. And CAFE. CAFE stands for Central Americans for Empowerment. And it's a crew of Central American students, first generation, second, third generation students. Our parents are migrants, our parents are refugees. Some of us migrated. And we started going down to the border, to the southern border, in Nogales, Arizona, and Tijuana, Mexico. Now, the border is a site of memory. It's a site of pain for a lot of our families. It's about proximity, right? So a lot of our folks can't go to the border. You can't go anywhere near it. But a lot of us as US-born citizens, we have that fucked up passport privilege of being able to navigate that space. And then we serve that role of being connected back to our Central American countries. So we start going to the border and fucking shit up, quite honestly. We start making these statements while we're there. And this right here is Eloy, Arizona, one of the biggest detention centers in the country, holding asylum seekers, mostly Central Americans, our extended community. So we start going there with these flags and, bump nation states, but these flags are symbols of recognition, symbols of a land, of a geographic space, of a shared struggle. So we start bringing these flags out and in ceremonia singing to them, hoping that they could hear us. Now, when the caravans, which is a euphemism for what it is, it's an exodus, it's a mass movement of people leaving because they are losing land, the loss of livable land in Honduras and Guatemala, El Salvador, in no small part by US intervention, right? So we start going there, and at first it was all about responding to crisis, right? Like, yo, there are hella parents, their kids, they need food, they need clothes, it's cold in Tijuana, we need to react. Right, so our organizing was very reactive in that way. But as HIFIS, the Haas Institute for Fair and Inclusive Society, St. Prue that made this happen, El Sadiq wrote in Moving Targets, crises of political origin require more than humanitarian crisis, than humanitarian responses. Sit with that. We're over here organizing, giving youth clothes from the Bay Area, from Los Angeles to migrants and asylum seekers, right? Those are humanitarian responses. Go, y'all can't, thanks for the beans and the rice, yo, that's cool. But it's so much deeper than that. That's what prompted the backpacking trip. It was about accompaniment, right? Marching with the families that were coming up, leaving from Honduras, from San Pedro Sula, from the bus terminals there. It was bearing witness, documenting what was happening. And it was a homecoming for me because I mentioned my family's from there, but there's this, because of migration, this lost the memory. It all started in MacArthur Park, Los Angeles, right? Where every backward Central American story starts, in LA. Yeah, so I started there, where I met a sister who had a gafete, right? Electronic monitor, that she has to pay $200+ for per month to be monitored. And she said this to me. I need to get the signal going. ¿Quién se queda cuando se vayan todos? Who stays when everyone leaves? If this is an all-out exodus, who stays? The military y las empresas and the private companies. Now, Honduras is the geographic location, the geopolitical location for U.S. interests in Latin America. We have military bases during the Cold War that were constructed that are still built and maintained. Y si no hay pueblo para defender las tierras, what if there's no people to defend the lands? I went to meet the people who are defending the lands. People like Copin, Berta Cáceres' daughter was here. Berta Cáceres was an environmental activist who was assassinated in 2016 for defending a river from privatization. So there's this paradox that I found in traveling. It's expulsion, right? Black and brown people, Afro-descending Garifuna people from Honduras being removed from their lands, right? Because they're coastal lands, they're great for tourism, so you gotta get them out of there. That's the logic of the state. And of indigenous people, of First Nation people, Mayan people from Honduras, and Lenca people. So it's about removing them. Now, when you have access to land now, you have this paradox of expatriation, right? Of who is the question. So you have an expulsion of poor black and brown people from Honduras, while at the same time, the state is absorbing all these bohemian, super eccentric, American, Canadian, European, Australian tourists, expats, right? So I go there and I see that my folks have no land, literally have no land, that the military that's US funded, US trained, is forcibly removing and killing these people who are fighting for the rivers, who are fighting for the trees, and at the same time supporting the privatization of these lands, right? So the paradox looks like hostile world, right? A network of communities of expats, European, American, Canadian folks who are benefiting from this cheap land, right? Who are able to launch these amazing, and I gotta say, really cool ideas, right? But they're doing it without consideration to the people who live there. So there's a paradox and a problem there. I'm gonna go back to something you said. When we're self-sustaining, we'll all be free. Let's hold on to that. So what are the economic implications of this expulsion of poor black and brown people from Honduras and an expatriation or welcoming of bohemian, do-gooder, well-intentioned, white folk and U.S. citizens, right? Folks with citizenship and passport privilege. What we see is that folks are landless. They don't have space. Those are the very people that we see in these caravans, these exoduses, right? They're moving to try to survive, right? So when you have no space, right? Quoting George Lipsitz, who talks about spatial imaginaries. He talks about the white spatial imaginary, which is about private property, build the wall, keep them out. I got to protect my property value, right? And black spatial imaginary, which is about used value. The land don't belong to you anyway, do something with it, right? So what we're seeing in Guatemala City, and some not fell in love with, was the fact that folks, young people, organizers don't have land, don't have space. So they take up public space, and that's the use value of it. Not too long ago, in Guatemala, there was a genocide of the Mayan people, right? Mayan Highland people. And the youth are keeping that memory alive in the streets by wheat pasting, by using data and statistics. So they're bringing academia into the streets, and they're actually showing you on the maps how it happened, when it happened, and they're citing sources, right? But it's wheat pasted on the street, making it accessible. Algo que tienes que masticar. You got to masticate when you walk down the street and you see these faces of people who were killed by the state, U.S. sponsored, U.S. funded. These are museums that the community created. This is a museum of memory to honor that genocide, to honor that the people who are missing. These are some B-boys in Guatemala City, and what's amazing about this is that when there is no space, the youth use public space to create memory, to create identity, to create community. And what we're seeing is this vibrant movement of hip-hop in Guatemala City. Highly recommend Rebecca Lane, feminist from Guatemala. Check her workout, Rebecca Lane. Super dope. This is in Honduras, and we have muralism happening, and we're engaged in the community, right? So if we want to be, I say Café, Central Americans for Empowerment, and folks who are invited to come on, right? When we go back to Honduras, when we go back to Nicaragua, to El Salvador and Guatemala, and we bring in all our privileges, right? And we want to create these eco-friendly, dope projects. We got to be conscious of the community that we're engaging with and where we are, and respecting that land that we are, like we're on a lonely land right now. So what we're creating is opportunities for muralism, for hip-hop, for recording, for videography, for virtual reality with the community there. And they're the ones informing the projects that we're moving through. And I'll leave you with these two examples. This is a sister from LA, super cool, and this is a brother from Honduras who's doing mosaic work. And we're bringing them together to be able to exchange and do this work together. So it's all about access to land, right? I'll leave you with two other recommendations. Nipsey Hussle, R.I.P., Victory Lap. This brother was talking about land. He was talking about property ownership, y'all. Like youth, we got to get on that. For real. It's about financial freedom and being able to create our collaborative space, because we are the cultural makers, and we do it through having our space, through having financial freedom and locking it down, because it's about land. These are two kids who were detained at the U.S.-Mexico border with their parents last year, and these images were everywhere. And we're doing this because we're thinking of the youth, Central American youth coming in behind us, who are going to be part of this, right? So if we have that system in place, if we got hip-hop to share with the youth, you know, if we got murals to tell our stories, to create that memory, then we're doing something for the youth. And I encourage you all to continue doing your work and, honor the land that we're on, honor your ancestors, honor that struggle and that survival. Thank you.
And I do want to add that a lot of the work that folks shared today is like outside of the nonprofit industrial complex. Folks are actually running it volunteer or in other kinds of ways. So we have a couple minutes now to take some questions from the audience. We're going to take about 3 questions all in a row, and then the panelists can kind of pick and choose what you want to respond to. And our awesome volunteer here, she'll tell you her name, is going to run the microphone around.
I'm Adiba Hassan, so just put up your hand and I'll come to you.
Hi, thank you all, first and foremost, for what you brought. My name is Cortina from Asheville, North Carolina. My question is, What are your thoughts on cooperatives? And I'm actually glad that you shared what you did about being outside of the nonprofit industrial complex. And I know in our community there is a movement around cooperatives because we're also trying to exist outside of that industrial complex and have ownership and build wealth. So I'm curious for any of the panelists that want to answer about your experience or your thoughts on us building and starting cooperatives in our communities.
Hi guys, thank you so much. I'm Yudi. I'm a junior at the Urban School of San Francisco, and I'm from San Francisco. My question for you guys is, how do you motivate people who don't want to be motivated?
Hi. I'm not really sure how to phrase this, but it's sort of something that's in my gut. When we talk about access to land, how do we actually do that while acknowledging the truth that we're on occupied land that included genocide of people that I don't always see in our movements? And that's not because they don't exist, but it's because we're not really including them. And like, can we just talk about access to land and what that actually looks like from centering the truth of what's happened on this land and what truths need to be revealed.
Awesome. Cool, so it's open for any of you all. And if we could have the mic back on, yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna kick it off with the questions about access to land, how acknowledging, right, centering that struggle, centering that suffering that has happened on this land. It is acknowledging that, right, and challenging this dynamic and logic of settler colonialism, of this is my private property, therefore I need to protect it from invaders, I need to protect it from other people. Like, that is settler colonial ideology, right? So really challenging that. And I love what you said, because cooperatives, cooperativas, do just that. Because it's not about private ownership. It's about this communal ownership, right? And I kicked off with saying that my dream for the future is villages, plural, of radical acceptance. That is cooperatives, right? And it's not only about having a shared living space, right? But again, quoting Jada, what did Jada drop on us? When we're self-sustaining, we'll all be free. So what if we're self-sustaining in that village of radical acceptance where we do cooperative ownership, where we acknowledge the suffering that has happened on the land and we're able to create from there. So it is absolutely possible, you know, and it starts there, challenging settler colonial ideology, organizing in community, and seeking self-sustainability.
Thanks, Lulu. Yeah, just to do a little bit of addition to that, as undocumented person, we hear often a lot, in the media, that folks want citizenship, folks want residency. And what does that mean when we are on occupied land? Who are we asking permission to be on this land from? And I think that we need to think about that, you know? Are we asking a settler nation for permission to stay on this land? The question is, no, fuck that. We don't want citizenship. We want liberation. We want the people, we want to ask for freedom from the people that occupied this land from the very beginning. And I think that's a problem that we have to always think about, right? And that's why we always follow the lead of Native, Indigenous, and Black folks, because we know that without their voices being centered, we're just gonna keep oppressing our same people, right? And that's not what we're here for. We're here to fucking be free. So yeah.
Thanks. Also, totes to the panel. Y'all are fire. This is great. So the nerd in me will go back to my notes. So I'm telling y'all, Black Marxist history gives me life, you know? And so from Freedom Dreams, pretty much how Robin D.G. Kelley makes the different chapters is he gives a dream that Black radical imagination has articulated before. And so one of the dreams was a dream about freeing the land. And freeing the land in the Black historical context was around decolonizing Africa, right, and freeing African from European colonization. And kind of fast forward to a chapter on a case for reparations and transformation. He pretty much says like Reconstruction after the Civil War in the US was a complete failure. Like black folks weren't integrated into any kind of system, and we were actually second-class citizens. And so he argues that reparations is actually a reconstruction of wealth in the US, and also it kind of addresses the issue of slavery. And with slavery, there's colonialism like rooted in that too. And so we find that our stakes are rooted in like indigenous solidarity too, because we need to radically reconstruct this world we're living in. And I think land is actually a really important part of that reconstruction process. And so, yeah, essentially a case for reparations. And so one quote that I'll read real quick is from the book. If we think of reparations as a part of a broad strategy to radically transform society, redistributing wealth, creating a democratic and caring public culture, and exposing the ways capitalism and slavery produce massive inequality, then the ongoing struggle for reparations holds enormous promise for revitalizing movements for social justice. So yeah, we all got a stake in reparations, essentially.
Thank you. So to cooperatives and the like non-profit like industrial system, I guess what I really have to say is that when the Youth Council first started, we were this really weird freak of nature, because we went from being like literally a group of young people like stealing coals from the sacred fire with like camping chairs being like, we're at camp, to all of a sudden people were like sending us thousands of dollars. And we were like, whoa, what the hell? Like we'd never seen that much money ever in our lives. So we kind of were forced to like go down a path that it was more nonprofit. And we had to do that because, in all honesty, I don't plan on spending any time in prison because of the IRS. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's just not worth it. I'd rather play their game than go to prison, like straight up. And so my advice to you is, first, know who you are and what you want. You have to do that, because if you don't know who you are and what you want, it's going to be much more difficult navigating your way through this. My other piece of advice is learn the system. If you want to change it, if you really want to take it down, you have to know it. You cannot remove yourself from this system and expect to have any effect on it. It just doesn't work that way. And that's my experience as someone who tried to remove myself. It just didn't work. At the end of the day, you can go as off-grid as you want to. The IRS will find you. Like, it's scary. Like, okay, so that's that. It's probably might be a little disheartening, but goes back to knowing who you are, and if you do have to go into that system, remembering where you came from and knowing how to navigate that to get what you want to your people, to your communities. And also looking back at the younger organizations that need help and looking at ways that you can, once you get to a certain point, the way you can uplift them and get them to a point where they need to be. How do you motivate people that don't want to be motivated? In all honesty, if people don't want to do something, you cannot force them. You just cannot, and you will break your back trying to do it. Like, straight up, I'm going to be real with you. I work with youth all the time, and in all honesty, when I try to force them to do things, it blows up in my face, and it usually really harms the relationship that I have with the young person. And so you don't want to force anybody to do anything at the end of the day, because, especially black and brown people, because we don't really do force very well. So that's really what I have to say. And at the end of the day, don't worry about what other people aren't doing. Worry about what you are doing. That's what's more important. What does access to land look like, and what is access to land? That's a really hard, I think, so the first thing that came to mind is that we have never, the first thing that we all need to do is, before we can break down any physical border or barrier, it has to come down in our minds first. You know what I mean? Like, we have all of these imaginary borders and lines that never existed on Turtle Island prior to colonization. We were always connected from the tip of Alaska to La Tierra de Fuego. We were literally one people. There is a reason why we are called the Americas. So when you think of the term Native American, don't just think of the northern people of this area. The Americas span from Alaska all the way to La Tierra de Fuego, even our people in New Zealand and our people in Hawaii. You know, it's so funny that you would say that, you know, tattoos on the face mean that I'm gonna kill you. Well, tattoos on the face to the Maori, to the Mohawk, to the Apache, to the Lakota, those face tattoos, those markings on your face, they didn't say, I'm gonna fucking kill you. They said, I'm willing to protect my people. That's what they say. So you know, I'm not telling you to go get a cupcake tattooed on your face, but no. But you know, just know who you are. The other thing about that's really hard is you have to remember that brown people, we didn't receive citizenship and we weren't referred to as humans in this country until the early 20th century. You know, our black sisters and brothers were referred to as human before we were. And so I think that gets really hard. And I think that the other thing that we have to remember is that we were always open. Our arms were always open, even to our colonizer. We brought them in, we saved their lives. They were sickly, they were dying, they had nothing. They were running from a monarch that had no moral code, no moral compass. And we accepted them and we taught them what those morals were. We showed them what true love and respect looked like. And I think that as Indigenous people, it is our responsibility and obligation to open that same kindness, love, and respect to our black sisters and brothers who were forced to be here, who are forced to now call this place home, because we are people who share. If you go to any Indigenous communities, we will feed you, we will give you the shirt off of our backs, even if we don't have it, because that's what we were taught and that's what we know. So I guess really at the end of the day, how do we bring these people in and how do we fix that? We have to educate ourselves. We have to expose ourselves to one another. I feel like sometimes the only reason it's possible for me to say this is because of the level of exposure that I've had to other cultures outside of my own. Like I said, I was almost raised by the black community. Like, I am indebted to the black community because of how much power that they gifted me. And so I give that back by making sure that a door stays open for my black sisters and brothers to come to every ceremony, to come to any frontline action. I always make sure that I reach out to Black Lives Matter Colorado. I always make sure that I reach out to Color of Change, to March for Our Lives, to United We Dream, and make sure that we are keeping that intersectionality and that intergenerational work going.
Thank you so much. So we're right about closing time, and we wanted to give everybody just like one last word, like a minute each, about how you would like folks to support your work and your dream, which is really our dream.
I would love for folks in this room, especially the young people, to what you said, right, which is educate ourselves, learn to play the game, to beat the game and not get swallowed by it, right? So real estate, learn about wholesaling property. Learn about, like, when there's a boarded up house in your neighborhood, like what you do about that, right? Like, instead of it getting gentrified, it getting bought up by somebody, what does it mean? What does it look like for you and your community to organize to be able to flip that into something, a communal space, a shared space, a creative co-working space, right? That's possible, but first we need to learn what that real estate, property laws look like and how to navigate that to get to a future that you want to see. And we could do that in our own communities, but it starts with knowledge and seeking that knowledge out.
So I think for me, the biggest thing that y'all can do is show up, show up in these spaces, show up when there's a call to action from your local organization that's doing badass work. It means the world when, we plan an action and folks show up and we're like, how did you hear about this? And it's like, oh, through this person or through Facebook, or like showing up even if it's through Twitter, like showing up means many different things for many different people, but just showing up, you know, and that also gives us like the notification that like, oh, we're actually doing change, and that's why I'm here. That's why like I actually know these folks, Devonté and Lulu, from organizing, and like we're here, we're fucking here. So yeah, just show up for one another and love each other, and because the system is really here to destroy us, and we're like, fuck you, you're not gonna destroy us. We're here to live, love, and I'm not gonna be cheesy and say laugh.
Yeah, this is great. Dope. So yeah, I think the big thing that I will emphasize is like, yeah, being involved in your community. It really, like our individual dreams are important, but when we create a collective identity together, and when we're able to dream in a collective and put feet to the ground around that, that's when it comes tangible. And so I would definitely encourage everyone to get involved in an organization, be like Ella Baker, and just like dig in and just be in it. And then I also think that, yeah, what others have said about learning, that me search, I'm definitely using that now, but yeah, I think that's really important. Once I started to learn about the Black radical tradition, and I saw myself as an extension of that tradition, that really opened up possibilities for me. So I think learning and doing that me search is actually really important too. So learning and also being in a collective.
So my advice to all of you, or I guess to leave it off, or how call to action, is to love yourself and take care of yourself. This work is really hard, y'all. This work will make you cry. This work will make you sick. But it's okay to say no. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to take time for yourself. And also stand together, y'all. Stand together. Unshimaka, Yohaniapo, Mother Earth, she's loving, she's there. Miniwi Choni, Wakanyelo, water of life, water is sacred. Water is sacred. All of these different things that are affecting us, Shishanyelo, they're bad, they're gonna hurt us. Oyate, Blehichiapo, but the people together are the strongest. So remember that. Oyate, Blehichiapo. Oyate, Blehichiapo. Oyate, Blehichiapo. The people stand together.
Thank you. I mean, that was it. Thank you. All right. Please enjoy lunch.